here from Coach Training World, and I am here with Stacey Brown, who is the extraterrestrial is what I came up with. The global
ET.
Is that a blooper? I think that's a blooper. I was actually thinking, that what you do is so cool because you bring worlds together.
Yeah.
People from different countries, different languages, and you help them to really translate for one another. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today, is how you're using coaching in your business to really help people to flourish as entrepreneurs, leveraging those natural gifts of language. And so extraterrestrial, extraordinary, out of this world, let's get going.
I guess if you speak Klingon, we could find some work for you. So
exactly. I love that. Well, Stacey, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what brought you into coaching first, so we kind of see what brought you here, at least to this point.
Sure. So I started this business, MindLink Resources, about 4 years ago. And I started it because I had been working in, for some Fortune 500 companies and recognizing there was a talent shortage, and had been working with in the language industry specifically, and realizing that it's really hard to find people who are freelance linguists, bilingual, that I could bring into some of these technology companies, because a lot of these big companies, they're working on products that are global, that are worldwide products, and they translate them into lots of languages. And they like to have people, especially local, that can review the technology once it's been translated before it gets published into the target country. And so I had started this company because I saw a need, and I started with the intent of doing mostly recruiting, bilingual people. But as I got into it, I realized that the missing piece was the bilingual people are there, but they don't necessarily have the business skills, if that makes sense. And there's such a need, like the growing, if you think about all the content and all the growing content on the internet and how much opportunity there is to translate that, being a translator is actually the 5th most growing career right now, and will be for the next 10 years. And so I realized there's a lot of people with that skill, but not necessarily with the business skills to bridge that. And I had the opportunity to speak at a couple of conferences where they were just really hungry for that knowledge of, how do I market myself? How do I bill? How do I get clients? How do I get more direct clients with the kind of customers I want to work with? But there's a lot of people complaining about agencies and how they abuse them and things like that. And so I came out of that speaking engagement with all the questions and lots of things buzzing around my head. And that's when I found Feroshia, and kind of read the opportunities to do the coaching course. And I thought, yeah, these are the skills I need so that I can teach, the people that I want to bring into this industry, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. So you had all the knowledge, and, adding the coaching skills, gave you that piece so you could actually translate your brilliance to help them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. What I remember, a lot of times you've talked about, just the coaching process itself and how it helps people to get really, really clear. And I can imagine, working with these young budding entrepreneurs that probably had no idea that the fact that they could speak Italian or French or Spanish, or probably even more the, other languages besides the European ones, they probably had no idea around what that was worth, but also probably had no idea how to position themselves out there in the market either.
Right. That is so true, because one of the things I talk about in my coaching with people is creating a specialty. And it's really amazing how people are afraid to do that, how to, to sort of, because they feel like if they start saying no to projects, they'll lose their business, or if they aren't general enough, they'll miss out. But I always tell them, the reality is when you specialize, you actually can charge more, and you attract those clients that are bringing you the kind of work you want to do. And the other piece was about, and I kind of got on this topic after your class about the whole person and how you can bring your whole person, and these little hobbies you have can actually be an asset to you as a translator. And it was funny because we discussed this in one of my sessions, and one of the attendees was talking about how she really loved equestrians and the dressage, which is the horse dancing. And she put that on her LinkedIn profile, and she actually got called to do some translation for some dressage. And she was so excited. And she goes, I was afraid or, worried about putting that on my profile. Is that too personal? Do people even care about that? But, then now she's doing work that, appeals to that heart, that passion. And so then it doesn't feel like work. That makes sense. So there's a lot of opportunity of just kind of, working with people and helping them realize that their skills are actually needed, and who they are actually matters, not just as a translator, but as a person.
So let me make sure I'm clear.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, translation was the core of her work, but when she brought in her personality and her love of the horse dancing, which I love too, by the way, that's so cool.
It is. Yeah, who doesn't?
It makes me want to learn how to ride a horse just so I can be able to dance, right?
That is incredible. Yeah.
And that magnetized clients that probably were more ideal, because I'm sure working on that project was just like heaven for her.
Right, exactly. And it's just really interesting how people are shy about, they just feel like they want to be machines or robots, because that's, they try to mold themselves to what they think the clients want them to be. But the reality is, you can attract clients to you that are looking for your unique skills. And, it's hard to get people to have faith in that, but it is true. And that's something that, coaching helps me to work with people and help them realize that.
And I really want to bottom line, it is so true how we've been trained to put our personality or our other things aside from our work.
Yeah.
And we live a separate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's a limited belief, I think.
That's cute. It is limited, and I think so. For sure. Well, I'm curious, when you're working with someone who wants to start their translation business, you told me a story of, even going to a restaurant and recognizing someone that's very skillful, and then basically seeing that talent and saying, hey, did you know? Mm-hmm. Like, what does the process look like? I mean, obviously, I'm going to be totally honest, I don't speak any foreign languages except dog.
That's a good one.
You can work on that one. It's helpful. not much.
Sure.
But if I was to come to you and say, like, I spoke Russian, mm-hmm. What would it look like to work with you? How would you help me to really connect to that dream come true business, so I could leverage that skill I learned so much and I traveled with, but never really, made any money from?
Right. Well, I think the first step is, again, to realize where you could specialize that skill. So like, what types of content are you interested? What ignites you? What excites you? What topics do you want to do? And usually if you have no experience, it's okay, because there's some tasks that don't require a lot of experience, like reviewing and quality assurance. And once you get good at that, you can start learning how to do interpretation and translation. And some of these do require some certifications, but I always tell people you don't have to have that to start, right? There's sort of a process. It's more like, just find the topic you love, and then we work on marketing and getting your listserv going, your list of potential clients.
Your database?
Yeah, get your database going.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, and I also know you know, like a lot of the work you do, you also help people that need translation find these people.
Yeah, yep. So it's cool because I can actually find projects for some of the people. And so if they're looking to start, you know, we try to put them with a mentor, you know, to give them some support. And definitely there's lots of tools and training, but, you know, you make that available, and, you know, people really are hungry for it and can find it. And you can learn a lot without having to go back to school or get more education, you know.
I spend more to make more. Oh, I
yeah.
So I'm curious, when your clients come to you, and you know that sticky part where doubt comes in?
Yes. I know that.
You know, we all know that. Do you find that shows up earlier or later, or what does that look like for them? You know, because in a way, you know, I mean, in my mind, I'm like, it's a shoo-in. You've got a skill. It's valuable. Right. You know, and I can imagine that, you know, still some, if I would fear or doubt comes in, just, you know, stepping out on their own.
Yeah, I think people think they need to have a lot of experience to do this. And I met with somebody recently who was like, I've just graduated from college. She was young, you know, zero experience, but she was bilingual. She spoke Italian. And so we got to talking, and I said, well, what did you do before you went to school? Well, I was an au pair, and I worked with children. And I was like, well, is there content about children that maybe you know about? And she says, well, yeah, there's some books, some children's books, you know, that I would love to help translate. And I'm like, you're qualified now to do that. You have spoken Italian for 20-some years, and you speak great English. And so, you know, just helping people, because I think there is that fear of, oh, I'm not, you know, people are so much more qualified than me to do this or that. But the reality is, when you pick a specialty, when you have a topic that you are passionate about, then you are the expert in that topic. And so there is a lot of like helping people see that, like, you have enough today to do it. So.
And I don't think you're emphasizing how much kind and loving support you give to in the process, so they overcome those fears. You really got their back.
Yes, there is a lot of that. And, you know, sometimes we have to give some loving feedback, you know. But for the most part, you know, once you learn the tools, and again, if you kind of choose topics you're really comfortable with the vocabulary, we have ways of providing you know, tools and tricks so that you can do a good job, and everything gets reviewed for quality. So nobody's out there on their own.
That's awesome. So what inspires you the most about your work? What part do you love the most?
I really love to see that growth in people, you know, to see people come from, you know, sort of not even knowing that they had this needed skill to, you know, being a full entrepreneur, and being able to get new clients and new opportunities for themselves. So I really love to see that growth in people.
I do too. And often I think of, and I sometimes get funny looks when I say this, but your business is your spiritual teacher in many ways. You get so many lessons, you know, some of them that are just enlightening, and other ones are like huge wake-ups, like, wow, I never thought of that. Or, ooh, I have to face something that I probably wouldn't have had to face, you know, getting up on the big stage, asking for money, you know, and really a lot of that. And I'm curious, what has your business taught you?
Ooh, good question. I've learned a lot from my business, and definitely the whole person applies. I think I am not naturally awesome with accounting and money and the whole business, you know, left brain stuff. But I realize when I don't have that base or that structure, then the rest of it feels a little off. And I get really stressed. So we've done a lot to kind of rein that in and build in structures for how we bill, how we do all of the accounting, and teaching people how to do that too, so that they're working within our system and then what to expect. It helps a lot. So I've learned a lot from the hard way, but and I still am. But I could. It is a teacher. It has become so much of my life, and I don't feel like I'm bogged down by it. It's just part of my learning process, and it's kind of who I am.
Mm-hmm. And it allows you to have a wonderful lifestyle and kitty cats.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see in the background. I don't see anybody.
No, they're actually leaving me alone today. But yeah, I get to be home when my daughter comes home from school, and she's fun because she kind of looks over my shoulder. She's curious about what I'm doing, and so I think it's a good example for her, And I kind of have this belief that everyone should be a little bit of an entrepreneur, because it does bring you in your life. And I hear people complain about money, and I just think you're just being a victim. There's so much need for your skill. You just have to find and attract that need to you, and you'll be successful.
Absolutely. So, can you help me out with that dog talk?
Well, you never know. Somebody might need to translate something into dog. Klingon, or you never know.
For those extraterrestrial moments.
Yes.
E.T. phone home. I know.
Exactly.
Oh, well, I'm curious, Stacey. I appreciate your playfulness. Today is definitely going to be a playful day.
Yeah, it feels that way. It's Thanksgiving week,
I know. I was thinking about that. And the beauty of, being an entrepreneur is you choose your time when you're on and when you're off.
Yes.
And I was kind of giggling. I was like, oh, I don't have to work this week. And I'm like, oh yeah, we have a video.
But that is a good point, like in terms of your schedule. I think one thing I've learned from doing this, like when I first started, I felt like I couldn't say no to anything. I was afraid of saying no. I was afraid of saying I'm not open. I was just had so much fear about like what I was doing. And now every time I say no because somebody asked me for something unreasonable, it feels so good to just say, oh, sorry, I can't help you with that. And it feels so good, to tell my clients, hey, we're going to be closed this day, so sorry. And it hasn't cut my business back at all. If anything, it makes people understand, we're human beings, and that's our business, being human. And so as a result, we have families and holidays and important things like that. So
yeah. Well, and how wonderful for you to be able to model that for the future entrepreneurs, because I know it's pretty common, and I know, because similarly, a lot of my clients, they don't want to say no, don't want to leave money on the table. But the truth is, your bandwidth is this long. Why not have that energy you're outputting to your clients be with the best people and the right clients and the right kind of information and work, as opposed to all things and going, woo, because we all know what happens then is we get exhausted and we start not liking our work, just like we didn't like our day jobs.
Yeah, it's like there's good money and bad money, and I that bad money, which takes all of your energy and so much time, and at the end of the day, you're like, did I even make money doing that deal? And so you realize what we really want isn't just to work. What we want is to be paid well and work less, not work more and make the same or less. So, it's all math.
It is math, and I also really like, just bringing back to the point you said about the person that, promoted, they love the dancing horse. I forgot the name of it already.
Dressage.
Visage. Is it VI?
Dressage, I think.
Dressage. Thank you. Putting that out there and then getting to do the work paid well, and with the kinds of client and topics of interest that are just light them on fire. Can you imagine every day of that?
Right. I have weeks I can imagine. I have some weeks that are a little harder, you know, but
Yeah.
but yeah, for the most part,
appreciate the good weeks.
Yeah, oh, for sure, for sure. And that, you know, to have that as sort of the ultimate goal, right? I mean, you got to have that sort of ideal in mind. And then everything you're doing, you're building up to that point. You know, and it may take a while before you know, all of your clients are your dream clients. But to have that you're working towards, I think makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Well, I'm curious, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you would love to share?
Well, one thing I've been thinking a lot about is the emotional aspect of our work. And I think with language, it's kind of like music. Like there is a personal aspect to it, you know, like something from the heart. And so sometimes it makes it hard to take criticism or you know, just to kind of manage those emotions when it comes to your language. Like somebody may just disagree with you, or, you know, or there just may be some feedback. I mean, you know, when I was learning a language, I learned Italian, and I was living in Italy, and I was speaking to a woman, and she looked at me and said, I didn't understand a word you said. Because my accent, and I was new to the country, and I was just, you know, it hurt my feelings. But at the same time, I think if I would have listened to her and said, you know what, I need to improve my pronunciation, and just take that as, you know, going back to that statement of math, like this is just a fact, you know, that I could be better in this thing, and so therefore I'm going to take that feedback and not let it hurt my feelings, or you know, take it really personally, but actually use it to grow my business and be better at what I do.
I love hearing that. Me too. I'm curious, Stacey, it's been really awesome catching up with you. Yeah. And I would love to know, how can people get a hold of you? What's the best way if they maybe want to be translating or translated?
Yeah.
I got that right.
Well, great. Well, you can definitely check out our website, the mindlinkresources.com. And we have some contact us forums on that site. I also have some free guides, and we do webinars every month to go through some, you know, tips and tricks and how to build your business as a translator. So definitely, if any of the viewers have language skills, I would love to hear from them. And likewise, anyone who has a need for that, know that I have a really awesome pool of people who are ready to go and help them out.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Stacey. And I'm thinking that your website's in there, but I'll go ahead and put it under the link under the video too as well, because it was a little bit hard for me to read with your camera. And I switched this to manual camera because Google was going back and forth so much. I was starting to think I might have a seizure.
Uh-oh. Sorry.
So I'm going to put the camera on you to finish. But
okay,
I
great.
Appreciate our time together. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And it's great to see you and catch up. And, you know, I definitely missed your class. It was a really good experience for me.
And I miss having all your brilliance in the room, and who knows, there might be a cross-pollination in the future.
I have a good feeling.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.